Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, where everyone is. Different time zones, no doubt. See, we have a bunch of people slowly joining. The room's filling up nicely, so that's great. We'll give it a couple of minutes for everybody to join. I'm already seeing loads of familiar faces in the audience, so that's great. Hi Andrew, hi Helen. Right. I think a lot of the people have joined now, so we should get going. Welcome everybody to this social commerce session. With me, I've got the awesome, talented China expert from Salesforce, Laura Hallinan. Laura, how are you doing?
Good, excited to be here.
Great to have you with us. So you've been at Salesforce for a while now, right?
Yeah, it's already a year and a half. Time really flies.
Crikey, that is already a long time.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know me, my name is Michel Chung. I head up sales and marketing at ChatLabs. So ChatLabs is a specialist marketing technology company that focuses on helping international brands sell and market in China. And we partner quite often with Salesforce deploying their technologies in the market. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about social commerce and the trends that we're seeing and why it's different. We're going to kick off with Lauren giving an introduction. So, yeah, take it away, Lauren.
Great. Do you mind sharing the screen or sharing the deck? I mean,
whilst you say hello.
Yeah, so I'll take a moment to say hello. I think for me, not quite as many friendly faces. So hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. As Michelle said, my name is Lauren Hallinan. I'm Director of Marketing for Strategic Partnerships at Salesforce. So I specifically lead marketing for Salesforce's partnership with Alibaba Cloud and our products in the China region. And maybe many of you are already familiar with Salesforce, but in case you're not familiar with Salesforce, at Salesforce, our goal is to bring companies and customers together. And we do that by unifying marketing, sales, service, commerce, and IT on our #1 CRM platform. So that's a little bit about Salesforce and about what I do. Awesome. So, like Michelle said, today we're here to talk about social commerce in China. So I'm going to kick off today's webinar giving some background, some context on China's social commerce ecosystem and why it's so important for brands operating in China. Here I have listed out some of the top challenges that many multinational brands face in the region. Obviously, there are so many other challenges and things that brands have to go through while working in China, but these are some of the key ones that are really top of mind for us at Salesforce and a lot of the conversations that we're having. So I'll go through these real quickly, but I think today we're going to focus on that unique market dynamics and what that really means for what channels brands are choosing to interact with consumers. So as you see here, we have performance is a key challenge. So China has unique network challenges that brands have to consider when building out their commerce presence in China. And as you all know, China's consumer population is massive, and a lot of brands really need to consider how they're going to handle, high volume shopping holidays, or, if they have a limited edition drop that causes a massive surge in sales volumes. Brands really need to take that into consideration when building out their e-commerce strategy. I'm going to skip over unique market dynamics for now. The next one that we see a lot of is siloed data. So, we see a lot of brands, as we'll touch on more in a moment, operating e-commerce storefronts across many different channels in China. And they also have marketing across many different channels in China. And so they're interacting with consumers across all of these different platforms, and they're really not unifying the data, unifying the consumer experience across all of those platforms, which causes a lot of challenges for brands, because they're not getting that unified view of the customer, and they may be offering different branded experiences across different platforms. And then compliance, we're not going to touch on this much today, but this is definitely top of mind for many brands doing e-commerce in China. As again, I'm sure you all have probably heard a lot about. There have been a lot of changes to China data residency laws in China recently, and so that's really top of mind for brands. But I think today we're really going to focus on those unique market dynamics in China. And that specifically would be social commerce. So if you're not familiar with the term social commerce, that is the use of a social network community to drive e-commerce sales. So social commerce has become an important commerce trend throughout the world. Especially we've seen it kind of pick up a lot in Western countries these past couple of years because of the COVID pandemic. But I think, social commerce has been a trend in China for many years now, and is much more developed in the region. And like I said, we see social commerce developing throughout the world, but it's developing in different ways. So, I would say from my perspective and what I've seen, in regions such as the US and Europe, websites still really remain the heart of many brands' e-commerce businesses, and they use social platforms as a tool to drive traffic to the main website. So that's still a form of social commerce, but it's a lot different than what we see in China. And, that's changing a bit in the West as we see more players like TikTok, or we see Instagram building out more storefronts, things like that. But I think China is much more advanced when it comes to, having storefronts across many different channels. So, like I said, in the West, websites still really remain the heart of many brands' e-commerce business, whereas in China, we would really flip that on its head, and commerce is largely centered around online marketplaces and social platforms. And we can actually go ahead to the next slide. So, like I was just saying, in China, we would really flip that on its head, and commerce is largely centered around online marketplaces as well as social platforms in China. 99% of China's internet users are on a mobile device. So mobile commerce has historically been very popular in China, which has really led to this development, like this breakdown of sales, as well as the rapid adoption of social commerce. And, it was expected that last year, over 83% of online sales in China would actually come from mobile commerce. So, because of this mobile first shopping environment, consumers really prefer to discover, research, and shop for products via social platforms and e-commerce marketplaces, right? And, like I was just mentioning, in China, we see a lot of, I think, nearly all of the social platforms, messaging platforms, they all have embedded e-commerce storefronts onto the platform, which really allows brands to connect with consumers directly on those platforms instead of driving them somewhere else for that final transaction. Oh, sorry, can we go back to that previous page real quick? I just want to touch on this, touch on this a bit more. You might be looking at this picture and saying, wow, major marketplaces still really account for a lot of sales in China. And I would say, yes, but that's because they're also early entrants into the mobile commerce ecosystem, right? These platforms kind of got that early market share. But I would say that, this other portion of the pie has been growing extremely rapidly over the past several years. And this has been happening for several reasons. Many brands have a increasingly strong desire to have more control over the user experience and customer journey. They want to have more ownership over their customer data. They want to increase loyalty. And really, they want to meet customers where they are, right? They want to give customers the ability to purchase and interact with the brand right when that desire to purchase strikes. So we really see more and more brands diversifying their presence across numerous channels instead of only focusing on the major marketplaces. And this is really largely due to trying to meet consumer demand. I think consumers are becoming more and more accustomed to being able to purchase from brands across many different platforms and not only purchase on these major marketplaces. So if we go to the next slide. As I said, I think this trend of social commerce is only going to continue to grow in China. That previous slide was actually, slightly outdated. Those stats were from 2020. And as many of you probably know, in China, things change so rapidly year over year that, 2020 seems so long ago. So I would say that likely, that portion of the pie that we see, sales from other channels has already increased this past year in 2021. Here are some more updated stats to just show the, the rapid growth of some of these other channels. So, for example, e-commerce on Douyin, the GMV from e-commerce on Douyin grew 6x in 2021. Also, since 2019, WeChat mini program transaction volume has grown 897%. That's just so dramatic. And in that same time period, there was a 268% increase in the number of overseas brands selling on WeChat mini programs. So we can see more and more brands are adopting this type of e-commerce and really, pushing to have those owned experiences, which I think Michelle will definitely talk about more in his portion of the webinar. Another example of growth would be that the growth of Kuaishou's e-commerce GMV in 2021 was 86%. And the last great stat I have on this slide is that in China, over 50% of social network users have purchased via a social channel. So, we strongly feel that this social commerce trend is, really has so much more room to grow in China. And that's not just, potential for growth in sales, but also from a features perspective, right? So many of these social channels, when it comes to their e-commerce features, their service capabilities, things like that are still in early stages. And I think as they mature, we'll continue to see, a wider, increasingly wider range of commerce capabilities from these channels, which will make them even more attractive for consumers and even more attractive for brands, giving them more and more ways to leverage these channels for e-commerce. If we go to the next slide, I also previously mentioned that one of the key benefits of social commerce is that ability to meet consumers where they are, and provide them with engaging branded experiences. And so this really includes a wide range of touch points and content types. And I think that, China has really become a global leader when it comes to these consumer experiences. The ways that brands are interacting with consumers in China are so diverse and really engaging. We can see some examples here, whether that's live commerce, shoppable video on platforms like WeChat channels, Douyin, Kuaishou, consumer chat groups. So, private chat traffic on WeChat and WeCom, and many, many more. And I know that in Michelle's portion of the webinar, he's going to go into much more detail in a lot of these consumer experiences and how brands can be engaging with consumers. And then we can go to the next slide. Lastly, before I hand it over to Michelle, I really wanted to speak to the implications of social commerce on the customer journey in China and how it really varies from the rest of the world. So as you can see on the left here, in the rest of the world, the consumer journey is much more linear, right? From awareness on one platform to consideration on the next platform, and then the final purchase happening on another platform. And like I mentioned, even though social commerce is growing in the West, social commerce is still often, social channels driving traffic to a website or to that final destination to purchase. Whereas in China, brands have this amazing opportunity to really have the entire customer journey within one platform, and to really, center the experience on the consumer, driving from awareness, consideration to purchase, and then through loyalty and, building that customer relationship and retaining that customer all within one platform. And that's really the beauty of social commerce in China and what these platforms are allowing brands to do, right? They're really allowing brands to bring marketing, commerce, service all together into one central location, and really also at the same time be gaining a lot more ownership over customer data and traffic and things like that. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Michelle to get into some much more detailed and great examples of how brands can really leverage this trend.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you for those amazing insights. As always, you have many things for us to start to think about. So thank you again for that. So I want to talk about some of the key trends that we're seeing in social commerce, the experiences that brands are using that are very different from what we're doing in the West. So really, I think I have one ask from the audience today before we go into that, and that is to completely forget what you know about e-commerce, doing it if you're working in the West, because it is, like Lauren said, so very different. And one of the biggest difference, so that's daunted on me. So I was working as a global head of digital at the Beers, where previously where I was also managing the Western and the Eastern channels. And at one point, something dawned on me when we saw the data coming in from the different platforms. And that thing was that the actual traffic from the conversion funnel between social commerce and Western e-commerce is different. So in the West, what we tend to do is we tend to buy ads, right, on social networks or on Google, where we're trying to get a lot of impressions to get our brand in front of the people, then get those people to click and go to our website. And then finally, we want them to convert on the website. So it's a very ads-driven model. We spend a lot of money, but in those initial stages, we have no idea who this person is, right? We don't know who's looking at the ads. We don't know who's browsing the website because they're anonymous. We can't have a conversation with them. We only know who it is after they bought. And with social commerce, that gets thrown completely upside down, because in China, when you're in a social network like WeChat, you're always in a logged in state. I repeat, you're always logged in. That has a massive implication, right? Because we always know, therefore, who's browsing. We always know what they're doing, what they're browsing, and we have the opportunity to converse with them. You can start to have a conversation with that client already. You have their details, your social detail handle, and you can have a messaging. So the whole process of buying ads that leads to traffic, that leads to sales, isn't really how you need to look at building e-commerce sales on social in China. What you need to look at is, how do I get as big a follower set as possible? How do I turn those followers into actual prospects that may want to buy something from me? And how do I then nurture those prospects? And how do I give them the best personal experience to turn those into customers? And that's what we need to focus on. So if you're looking at your ad spend, you should focus on gaining followers on social. And then the tactics that the brands that do really well are all focused around gaining more followers, turning those into prospects, and turning those into customers. And that's what some of the brands that do that fantastically, I want to share all the different key trends for. So first, one that we can't deny, of course, is live streaming. So live streaming, hugely popular in China already, starting with the marketplaces like Tmall, etc., but now also readily available on the social channels like WeChat and Douyin, where people can different brands, they have a live stream going quite often continuously. They gain this organic reach, right? Because on Douyin and on WeChat channels, people are just browsing content continuously, and sometimes they stumble upon these live streams, and they might stay there if they find it interesting. And from there, people can start to shop directly. So they can ask questions from the people presenting the products, and they can immediately start to shop while they're watching the live stream, right? Because you can literally just whilst you're doing this, whilst you're looking at the stream, you can also start to browse the store. Initially quite lightweight. Within the stream itself, you can view the products, but then you can actually punch out to the physical store or on WeChat as well in the mini program. So L'Oreal does that, for example, every day from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. So that's basically always on streaming, other than some people having a little nap. They drive a lot of these campaigns, lucky draw campaigns, into these live stream where they're rewarding people for leaving comments and engaging with the streamers. And the stream is available everywhere, straight from the official account on their channels as well. And people can buy right there and then as they're watching. So this is obviously one key mechanic that people are using. Then we've got social service. So the network effect we've got as well, right? You're in a social network, so you can connect to people and you can get instant support whilst you are. And that goes a little bit further than just like a live chat, which is what we normally see on a website in the West, right? A little chat bubble goes up. and then a bot starts talking to you. Hi, my name is Gucci Bot. How can I answer your questions or something like that? But on social, it goes a little bit further in China. So Gucci here, for example, they offer one-to-one consultations. So people are browsing the products, and rather than, if they're not quite sure, if they have more questions, they want to maybe know about the origin of the product or the materials that it's made from, what they can do is they can go straight into a one-to-one live stream. So previously we just saw the one-to-many live stream, a lot of people looking at the same stream where people are presenting the product. Here now with the luxury brands, you can go one-to-one straight to a sales associate who will then give you more information about the product. They can have a video stream to show you the different angles that you might be interested in, the inside of the bag, etc., etc. So it's a great, through social, there's also the ability to give this even more personal level of service, give instant extra information that you don't have necessarily posted on the page. And obviously, as soon as people connect with the sales associate, they go into like a guided sales process, right? Because these are the best people in the business that knows most about the products and that they guide the consumers to the sales. So it's really helping brands sell more on those channels that way. Then the next trends we want to cover off is group buying. So group buying is immensely popular in China already. So on the social media, you often have large groups that you can participate in, and within those groups, you can then get access to particular promotions, etc., etc. So what brands do is they reach a larger audience by getting other people to also invite more people into those groups to buy these products with them. They trigger the discounts based on the sales volume. So maybe you need to have 10 participants or 20 participants or whatever it might be to unlock this particular discount, right? And therefore they're using automatically the social reach of all the people that they're already talking to. Because if every person invites 10 other people, you immediately have a large pool of prospects that you can sell to, and they need those to trigger the discounts. So they're really leveraging the network elements of social there. Another way to use group buying is also to have multiple people buying single items. So there is multiple people buying multiple items and getting a discount, but you can also, for example, for a birthday, one person wants to have a particular watch or something for their birthday, and you get multiple people to chip into it. And through the social network, they can just invite other people to contribute to the same item. So that's also another version of group buying. And this is very successful for brands like Lancome, where they have WeCom, which is the professional version of WeChat, where the sales associate, they build these traffic pools, they build these groups where they invite people to, they promote the different deals, but also they share product information and personal advice on these groups, and then they add these promotions into the specific WeChat store, where you have to invite other people to also get the promotions, and that really creates this social effect again. So you don't see any ad buying that leads to conversion here. They're really leveraging the element of get other people to join in, and therefore they reach more people to sell to. Another way to leverage the network that you're active in social is through user-generated content in communities. So a lot of different brands, they start up these because you're already on social, they create these communities around their brands for different purposes, to share user-generated content, to get more people to engage in a deeper manner with the brand, and also to provide another mechanic for rewards. For example, Calvin Klein here, they have this mini program and this campaign where called the Campus Ambassador campaign, where they're getting other people, their customers, to become KOCs and post themselves in Calvin Klein outfits, and other people then vote for the different content that they're putting out. And the people that are participating in the community, they get points for doing that. So they get points for putting content and that out there, and they're getting points for people liking or commenting or sharing on that content. And those points can then be redeemed again in the social commerce store. So another great way to use the social element here to engage with the audience and get people to earn points to then redeem in the store, which then drives to more e-commerce sales. We're in social, so we have to talk about sharing as well. Given that first of all, you never have to leave the app, right? With other mechanics in the West, what we're used to, if you want to share something on Facebook or on WhatsApp or whatever, you copy the URL, you go to Facebook or to WhatsApp or something, you paste the URL there, and that generates a link and sometimes a little thumbnail. It's a little bit awkward, and it's much smoother in China, where you can just straight away share with all of your friends and colleagues, either one-to-one, one-to-many in a group, or on your social feeds. So it's up to the brands then to come up with interesting things that they can to share, because obviously you can share it, like here on the left, you can see Dior, you can share the product card itself that links directly back into mini programs for people to buy. But you can also think of more innovative ways, like here the AR example, where people can see the shoes on their own feet through AR. They can then take a picture of that, download like a poster, and share that on their feed for other people to comment on, to see whether or not people like the shoes on them, or etc. But not only that, they get the social feedback, but also there's a code there that gets other people also into that same mini program to try those shoes or other shoes on their own feet as well. So again, the social effect is there. So great ways to share different content whilst people are shopping. This thing is probably one of my favorite topics, the social reward systems. It's becoming tremendously popular in China. There's like brands like Dyson and Calvin Klein and others have led the way, and Swarovski is doing phenomenally well here as well. Again, it comes down to the simple fact that everybody's always logged in. And that means that we can see every single event that they have. We can see we can see what people like, what they dislike, where they click, what kind of product, what kind of product they're sharing, etc. We can also see what kind of QR code they scan in the physical environments like stores. So what brands now are doing is they're creating these loyalty systems that are sort of upside down. You gain the points before you buy, rather than after you buy. So by doing lots of brand interactions, like visiting the store or liking some content or sharing some content, all of those brand interactions, people gain points for, which they can then later again redeem on the stores. So they're really incentivizing. So Swarovski here, for example, is really incentivizing interactions across the physical domain, as well as the social media, as well as the marketplaces. All of that data gets pulled together. So they know when you're on Tmall, we know when you're following them on Xiaohongshu, we know when you are scanning a QR code. And for every brand interaction, you get points. And if you have enough points, you get coupons automatically sent to you, which you can then redeem in the store. So they're using the loyalty and the points mechanics to drive brand interactions, and also to help get people to do that first purchase, rather than earning loyalty points after you've bought something and getting 10% of your next purchase or something like that. which we're very much used to in the West. And this is really working well for loads of different brands. And the last one that I just want to cover is the social intelligence, where we're obviously logged in again. We know the social profile of the people shopping with us. We try to get to learn more about them, to really turn them into prospects that we can have a personalized follow-up with. So it's all about what kind of tactics can we use to gather more data about these consumers and what they want, so we can see their click behavior and stuff like that. But what else could we do? And then we can do personal nurturing and follow-ups. So Cartier does this phenomenally well. So Cartier has a gift advisor in their store on social, and by what you do is you go through some questions and answers. Right, who is this gift for? What's the budget? What's the occasion? Etc. Etc. And then you get a set of recommended products. Now, what's amazing here for Cartier is that now not only say it was Lauren visiting the mini program, not only do we know, oh, Lauren's visiting the mini program, she's a female based in the US, she's this old. We already know that from her social profile maybe. Now we also know that she's got a partner who she's engaged with or married to, and we also know when they're getting married and what their budget is for gifting on those occasions. So it's a tremendous amount of intelligence with a simple interaction that we've now built up from this consumer, which we can now use for nurturing. So they've gone through this process, and they're probably not going to be like, oh, here's the recommendations, now I'm going to buy it. It's probably not how the journey is going to work. So they might share the recommendations with friends. Oh, which one do you think they would like out of this set? So using the social network for that. But then there's probably going to be automated follow-ups by Cartier as well, right? There'll be template messages. Hey, you've recently done this thing. Are you still looking for a gift? Here are the things that we recommended last. Here's some other ideas within that same budget, etc. And maybe if someone selected the higher end of the spectrum of that budget, maybe they'd actually get a call back from a sales associate from the store to see if they could help them in a certain way, right? So it's all about using social to then get more data and then do the personalized follow-up with those prospects to convert them. And that really is the difference in the journeys that we're seeing. It's not from impression to ad to traffic to push them to basket to sell. It's all about, how do I get the most amount of followers? How do I learn more about these followers to turn them into true prospects for the brands? And how do I then nurture those relationships to a point where they're incentivized or to convert on e-commerce? So with that, some exciting news from Salesforce, because they have actually looked at that domain and thought, wow, that is so fantastic. We're going to create a special dedicated product for that, right, Lauren?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so I think, many people may not know because this product is so new. But, at Salesforce, we really recognized how unique the China market is, the nuances of the China market, just how crucial social commerce has become for brands operating in the region. And, instead of trying to, make a shoe fit that doesn't fit, aka bringing a product that fits another market, to China, instead what we've done is we've created a new product specifically for the China market. So Salesforce Social Commerce, that's the name of the product. It's a headless commerce platform that's designed and built by our engineering team in China, who has, great knowledge of the region, to address the market's unique needs, all the things that we talked about today. And it helps businesses unify data across their Chinese storefronts and offers integrations with key local systems like, the brand's OMS or PIM or, things like that. And what's really interesting also about Salesforce Social Commerce is that it's hosted in China on Alibaba Cloud. So we've worked together with Alibaba Cloud step in step to really develop this product and create it. And it's hosted on Alibaba Cloud, which is one of the top public clouds in the world, which really helps with scalability and performance and those other areas that we didn't touch on as much today, like compliance and data residency and things like that. So we're super excited about this product because I just believe it's so important to have the right tools for China and to be really addressing the needs of the market. So yeah, super excited about it.
Thank you, Lauren. We're also super excited. We're obviously a partner of Salesforce. We're lucky enough to be one of the first partners to help launch this for clients. It's so innovative, right? With its headless architecture and the ability to basically plug that into any kind of experience that we want. Therefore, we're really looking forward to deploying some of the innovations like we've seen today for many brands using Salesforce Social Commerce. So now we want to take some time to answer any questions that anyone might have for the audience. So please go ahead and use the Q&A function of Zoom and ask any questions that you might have, and me and Lauren will try our best to answer these.
Definitely.
So first question is from Allison. Do you recommend sticking to one single platform when I'm just trying to start out on these social commerce trends, or is it better in terms of gathering followers and data to do it on WeChat, Tmall, JD, Taobao at the same time? So I don't know what you think, Lauren. I think it is, with the ecosystem in China being so split and consumers being using all these different apps, I don't think you can get away with just being in one place personally. So I would probably pick like the biggest marketplace and the biggest social network as like a starting point. It depends a little bit about how well your brand is known in the market as well. So if you're unknown, it's probably best to start with Tmall, to be honest, because you have a continuous shopping audience there, and you can try and tap into that. And then to follow that up with something like WeChat, where you start to build up your own customer database that you can then nurture and convert for the second and third purchase. You don't want to keep paying commissions on the marketplaces, right? So you want to try and get those first acquisitions through a marketplace maybe, and then try and get them to sign up to a loyalty program or something where you get them to buy the second and third and fourth time directly from the brand itself rather than through the marketplace. Lauren, do you have any thoughts on that?
I definitely agree with everything that you just said. I think that probably, having a presence on one of the marketplaces is pretty key. And, whether that's Tmall or JD or something else, I think really depends on the type of product that you're selling. As these different platforms, these different marketplaces definitely address different audiences. And then I'd say the same thing as far as the social channels. I think WeChat is really the best when it comes to all of the features and capabilities it's able to offer, and just how you can really build out that customer journey and own the data. But I would also, definitely consider other platforms as well. I think it's really crucial before you, go into the market to figure out who is your initial target audience, and much more than like, millennial females or something like that. Like go as niche as possible when you're first starting, and really, reviewing all of those platforms and seeing, which platforms are most popular among your target audience, I think is definitely important as well. Because, who knows, maybe Douyin would be a great channel for you instead. But I think as far as like, the most classic channels and the most solid channels to start on, it would probably, be one of the marketplaces in WeChat. But again, I wouldn't rule out any of the other channels. I think it really depends on who that target audience is. Is it male, females, younger, older, what, lower tier, first tier? You really have to take in all these nuances into consideration, because China is such a large market, and these the types of platforms that people use and how they interact with brands really varies, from region to age group to spending level, things like that.
Great. Good. We have loads more questions coming in, so let's see if we can answer a few more. So one's from Laura. Hi, thank you for this webinar. Just started to learn about social commerce. How does this work from a global perspective? Will our global teams be able to analyze all of this data? Now, here we're going to get a little bit into the compliance story as well. So obviously, all of the data sits in China, right? All the data that we collect for our customers and Salesforce as well, they're hosting all of that data in China. If you wanted to leverage those insights outside of China, typically what would be best is to give them access to anonymized data for analytics purposes. Because with the latest regulations, it's you can't just transfer the data with the PII outside of China. So what's probably the best to do is to give an aggregated analytical view of that data to the head office teams, which can then help you analyze trends and come up with strategies to better engage with the clients. Then we have a question from Carol. Can you please tell us about grocery retails leveraging social commerce in China? Lauren, what do you think? Would you think social commerce would also work for groceries?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure there are some case studies. I mean, I think that I'm not thinking of a specific store, but I think that a lot of the growth of, for example, Pinduoduo, for example, has been off of the agricultural industry and the F&B industry. So I think for example, the trend that group buying that Michelle touched on is really at the heart of channels like Pinduoduo, and we've seen a lot of consumers leveraging platforms like that to purchase, their daily goods as well as consumables. I think also, I am not remembering which grocery chain this is off the top of my head, but I know that during the COVID period with quarantine, I definitely know that other types of group buying specifically related to grocery have become very popular, where consumers in a specific community will have their own WeChat group chats and be able to work together to actually buy groceries together and have those groceries delivered in bulk to the community where they will all pick up the groceries. So I think there's plenty of examples of especially group buying, chat groups, other types of social commerce when it comes to the grocery industry. That's what's coming top of mind for me. But Michelle, maybe you have some other examples.
No, I think you're 100% correct there. I think that the biggest ones are definitely the group buying and live streaming that we're seeing, where for people in the more like a third or fourth tier type cities or further afield even. We have more questions here. So we have here Kim asking, our brand has a dealership model. Are there examples of dealership social commerce system? I'm actually talking to with the brand at the moment, which has a similar model to that, and they're still looking to use social commerce. And basically, they want to use all the different tactics that we saw today and the experiences in terms of building a relationship with the customers, getting them the best possible product info they can. And the only difference is the basket button. So rather than so you build the audience, you engage with the audience, you learn about the audience, you teach them about your product and service offering, and then the final step for conversion is that you're actually directing them to their closest dealer. That's the only, rather than buying it right there and then. And you can even involve the dealers themselves as well through the social networks by connecting them straight a contact to the store associate of that particular dealer, because you can tie someone directly to an individual. And because with the social networks such as WeChat, we can already see where the customer is from, where their account's registered. We can also ask them to share their GPS location, so we know where they are at that particular time, and therefore we can direct them to the closest store or dealer, which is convenient to them. So hopefully that one helps. Handy asks, are there different approaches for premium versus non-premium brands? Lauren, you want to take first stab? Premium versus non-premium social commerce strategies.
I think that actually this is probably one that with your past experience that you might be able to speak to a little bit better than I can. I think my what I would address is a bit more of what I was speaking to earlier of the channel mix. I do think that premium versus non-premium brands are definitely going to have a slightly different channel mix. Where are their target consumers, and also, as that price point increases, where are consumers more comfortable making that final purchase? I think. And Michelle, please correct me if you have seen different statistics, but I think that as far as social channels, when it comes to those maybe more premium purchases, larger price, like higher price points, I think that WeChat has actually really developed quite well. I think consumers really trust WeChat mini programs, that they're authentic and they're willing to spend at higher price points on WeChat mini programs. But I do think that, some of the other social channels, the consumer may not be quite as willing yet to buy an especially premium product on the channel. It might be a little bit more suitable for non-premium brands, slightly lower price point at this time, while those channels are still kind of working on developing more of that trust with the consumer. I think that a lot of there's many channels that are better for a little bit more like impulse purchases, whereas WeChat is really great for developing that that loyal customer, really delivering a lot of one-on-one service, which is really great for premium brands that again might be dealing with a much higher price point item.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the key things are as well that, one, you've got the purchase cycle themselves tend to be much longer for premium brands versus non-premium. So what you see, like with Cartier more, is they start to gather some information, then they follow up with the customer with personalized messages, then they follow up again, then they have a physical meeting, then they have a store associate follow up from the physical meeting. So it's more like a whole chain of events on social that leads to a purchase, and that's why it's key to know all of the data at each and every point, and being able to do that handover. And the last one, I think what people sometimes forget is that a lot of the time people go to the store first. So there's a big use case in China for actually offline to online rather than online to offline. Also in the premium sector, so people will go shopping. They'll go through the mall. They go loads of different shops. They see the different options, but then they might not go home, or they might go home and not buy still. And then but they may have scanned the code of the sales associate in one of the stores. They might have scanned the code of a particular product and saved that to the list that they wanted to buy. And then later online, at their convenience, they choose which option they want to take. If it's like which bag they wanted or which watch they wanted or whatever it is, and then they do the purchase. So the offline to online interaction is also quite important for premium brands. I think the last question, probably for now, is from Daniel. Which social commerce experience should I start with, and how long would it take to build? Personally, I would probably start with WeChat. It has pretty much everybody in China has WeChat, and they're very familiar with using it to do transactions, do services. If you want to hail a taxi in China, use WeChat. If you want to order a Starbucks in China, you also use WeChat. If you want to buy noodles off the street, you also use WeChat, right? So that everybody uses it for all those use cases already. So that's would probably be my first point of call. How long does it take? Well, luckily we have amazing products like Salesforce Social Commerce that have all the core capabilities in there to get you going quickly. So typically with clients, we just do a branded storefront based on the out-of-the-box capabilities, for example, and then you're looking at sort of 3 months, and off you go, and you can start trading. Lauren, any other thoughts on that one before we thank everybody for joining?
No, I think that was a great answer. Yeah, nothing to add. Great.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Lauren, for coming to the webinar, sharing your amazing insights and everything you learned about China. Yeah, everybody, all the participants, thank you for joining us, and thank you for asking questions and making this an interactive session. So I hope you learned a lot, and if you want to follow up with us, we're here to support you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for attending. Those are some great questions.
Thanks everyone. Bye. Have a great day.